We begin with Nate Rogers and the massive Palestinian protest creating a mess downtown during rush hour. Nate has been in the thick of it all night. Nate.
That's right, Dawn and Scott. Good evening to the both of you. Today's demonstration was certainly intense. We were out there for a couple of hours just with police and with this crowd. And of course, since the war in the Middle East began, we've covered a number of these pro-Palestinian demonstrations, but we haven't seen unrest at this level locally. A number of people were arrested. A police sergeant was even spat on just 10 feet from where we were standing. It was ugly. Complete chaos downtown. Palestinian demonstrators clashing with police.
Palestine will be free.
The group began demonstrating on Federal Plaza about 3 p.m. Folks with signs in hand waving their native flag.
This means just standing up for humanity. This is just basic human rights that we're fighting for.
We do not care if the cops don't want us on the street.
They then took to the street, but remained at a standstill on Adams between Clark and LaSalle, with more than 100 officers blocking. The uproar came as police and rally organizers disagreed on the protest route.
We tried to work with the police to take a different route. They don't want us, so we decided to keep going our route.
At least 2 people were detained. Then around 5:30 p.m., the march began north on LaSalle. The event, coordinated by the Chicago Coalition for Justice in Palestine, at least 500 people participating. It was part of an international call for Palestinians and their supporters to strike today. No work, no school, no spending money. They say they no longer want their tax dollars to fund genocide.
The demand is a permanent and immediate ceasefire right now. The occupation force is out of Gaza, and the people to be able to return to their homes.
And at this hour, we just put a call into Police News Affairs within the last 10 minutes. They tell us they have at least 14 people in custody. Right after I got off the phone with police, I called organizers for the protest. They told me that they are currently outside of the police station at Belmont and Western right now as we speak. They've got about 75 protesters there where their demonstration is continuing tonight. They say at least 9 of their members are there right now at that police station, and they will not go home until their participants are released. Of course, we'll continue to cover this story and bring you any updates on air and online. Back to you guys in the studio.
Well, Nate, we saw you out there in the middle of all of that during the 4 and 5 p.m. newscast. It was busy.
A tense situation, obviously, Nate, on the front lines. What was it like?
Yeah, absolutely, Scott and Don. It was hard, frightening at times, to say the least, because as you know, I said, my photographers, Quan and Stefan, we were literally within 5 feet from where the commotion was going on. We saw with our own eyes many demonstrators just wanting to get out a positive message, but we also saw agitators. We saw folks pointing their fingers at police in their face, yelling at them, going back and forth. And you know, tonight's report is not at all about picking sides, but I will tell you, even my colleagues and I have been talking about it, we saw Chicago police exercise a certain amount of restraint today that was out of this world, incredible, as certain agitators were in their face yelling obscenities. Police stood hand in hand, just trying to keep calm. Now, again, I spoke to demonstrators today, coordinators, within the last 10 minutes or so. They say police were the aggressors, that police were pushing and shoving them. All of the turmoil began again because apparently the proper permit to have a demonstration at that size, at that level, it was not gotten in advance. And so that really is the tension that you saw from this group and from police.
Well, Nate, we certainly noticed a lot of that animus directed towards the police in that 5 p.m. cast. Thank you for that update. Meanwhile, that chaos downtown followed a protest this morning that caused chaos at O'Hare. Protesters sat in the road. They blocked access into the airport. Some travelers had to bail out of their cars and then walk to terminals. Some 40 protesters were arrested. There were similar protests and disruptions all over the country. We're going to have an update on the situation in Israel in about 10 minutes.